Hello folks, Darrell Smith here from South Dakota. I'm going to start where I left off of the last video. Glenda and I had been in Tennessee near the Naval Air Station at Memphis, and we were waiting for the arrival of our firstborn, Kelly, and I had 30 days off in an effort to be there for the delivery. Well, Kelly was delayed, and all my leave expired, and I had no choice but to go to my duty station, which was Cherry Point, North Carolina. I drove there in our 1964 Volkswagen Bug. Cherry Point was where I'm going, and I looked it up, and Cherry Point got its name from a small post office that was located near some cherry orchards. It was initially called Cherry Point Landing, but they dropped the landing eventually. Marine Corps built a station there some 80 years ago, and they situated it so that when you were taking off on one of the runways, you'd fly right over the front gate, and it was quite noisy. There was a sign outside the gate that says, "Pardon our noise, it's the sound of freedom." I can remember going on that runway, taking off and looking over the side of the cockpit down, and we weren't very high, but we were making a terrible amount of noise. So when I arrived in Cherry Point, I knew nothing. Some of the guys were smarter than me and knew more than me, and they even asked for certain aircraft, and some of them even asked for this particular squadron they would like to be in. But I didn't know how to do that. I had been so stressed out, just worrying about what I was gonna do the next day in training, that I didn't even think about what would happen if I happened to be successful. Well, an officer takes the list of new pilots, sits in an office somewhere, looks at their records, and assigns that pilot to the squadron where this officer thinks they will do the most good for themselves and for the Marine Corps. I was lucky. I got assigned to VMA 332. It's an attack squadron. Attack is exactly what it sounds like. The mission for this little airplane was to attack from the air on targets on the ground. We dropped bombs, we shot rockets of many kinds of bombs too, and even machine gun fire. We were strafing there. It was a great aircraft and a great mission, and I loved it. Well, we were flying the A4E, and they just happened to be, these aircraft were brand new, and boy did they ever look good lined up out on the ramp. It gave me quite a bit of pride to be able to go out and strap one of these things on and go flying. Well, once we got there and got established, we were assigned to base housing. It was an older duplex and not fancy at all, and but we were just happy as we could be. We were still newlyweds, and we had a baby, and she was a kick. She was fun to play with, and most of the time in a good mood. So but once we got established, it wasn't very long till the squadron was deployed to Puerto Rico, and I don't know what goes into decisions that are made to do that, but we were down there for training. There was a training target on an island not very far from the airfield, so you could, the entire mission would be less than an hour a lot of times. I flew an airplane down. By the way, the A4 is a single seat, single engine jet, and it's small compared to other military aircraft. It's only 26 feet from wingtip to wingtip, but it would carry the load the same as a B-17, or as much as a B-17. I flew an aircraft down. We refueled in Jacksonville, Florida. We did hot refueling, they called it. So we would pull up to a platform and they would hook a refueling hose onto your probe, your airborne refueling probe, and in no time at all pump your fuel back up again. It was 4 of us in the flight, and once we were all fueled, we did a takeoff and headed to Puerto Rico, and I was amazed to see how beautiful it was. The water was blue, the islands were green, and each one of them had quite an extensive beach system, so that was white. It was a beautiful sight. Well, we get set up in tents right along the runway. We did live in the BOQ, but our operating squadron was in tents, and it was a good time. We got a lot of good flying in, and we learned about our aircraft and about the other people in the squadron. Food was good, and on occasion, the group of pilots would meet at the officers' club just to unwind. I didn't drink at all at the time, but I was aware that the rum drinks that were available were real cheap, less than 50 cents. I'm quite sure. One night I stepped outside the officers' club, and it was up on the hill, and so I was looking out across the island, and I could see the lights. It was a warm night and a warm breeze on your face, and the inside, the music from those steel drum bands was playing, which was totally new to me. But anyway, at that point, I realized that I was involved in quite an operation, and it was an exciting time for me. After a point of time, we moved the squadron back to Cherry Point, continued with our flying. Soon I noticed a little red Vespa scooter sitting at a service station that had a for sale sign on it. And I looked it over and I wanted it. We didn't have any money, but we bought it anyway. But it turned out to be a great little buy in that it was about 2 miles from our house to the squadron area, and that little scooter was just perfect for that. And that allowed Glenda to have the car for herself and whatever she needed to do. By the way, throughout the years, I was flying in the military and flying commercially. Glenda was left alone to take care of some real hard situations. This giving birth without me around was the first, but she did many more. She always came through with flying colors. She was a real trooper. Our flying in Cherry Point, we flew to 2 targets, a BT-9 and BT-11. They're about 30 miles north on an island that was not inhabited except for the maintenance people. But we flew all sorts of combat simulated missions up there. One sad part about that, about that target area, one of our squadron mates, the design for this particular delivery was kind of a special. We were turning toward the target and descending over water, and we were going fast. We'd go right down to 50 feet, 100 feet over the water, and we had it going really fast. Well, I don't know what happened. He flew into the water, and he's not with us anymore. But he was killed. So it was a sad part of our training, but that was the first of several squadron mates over the years that I have lost one way or the other. Well, we flew almost daily. In about a year or a little over, we were designated combat-ready pilots, attack pilots, and we hadn't put much thought into it, but maybe maybe not everybody, but the vast majority of the pilots that were in that squadron spent a deployment to Vietnam, which meant they were there at least a year. I was there 1 year. So that's kind of my story. Well, let me tell you about my scooter. Well, I told you about the scooter. It was good transportation. Anyway, that's kind of my story for today. Thank you for listening. See you later.